Hey everyone, this is Friedel Hakoreja Raven. I'm here with my recap and review of Generation, Season number 1, Episode number 3, the first 3 episodes. Oh, I think you can see the light. I'm going to move the camera a bit. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So the first 3 episodes are available on HBO Max right now, and I've already was hesitant watching this show because I knew what happened in the pilot, and I did my trailer reaction where I talked about this show having another bisexual queer character who is messy, and I'm not a fan of writers using bisexuality as a messy trope and making that bisexual character like they want to have a bisexual character on their show so that they can show said character hooking up with other people and playing all sides, and I'm not a fan of that. But anyway, episode number 1 and 2, I was thinking of recapping episode number 1, but I was like, you know what, nothing really happened. We just got introduced to the characters. Okay, is the camera a bit wonky? I'm not really sure what's happening today. You can kind of tell I'm not really interested in doing this recap, but yeah. So episode number 1, we got to know about the main characters. We have Chester, we have Naomi, his sister. You know what? It's weird. It's weird. The names, even the names. Okay, so yeah, Chester, Naomi, Nathan, Riley, Annie, who you guys are watching right now on the screen, and there's Delilah, and there's Greta, and basically there are 2 timelines working in this show. In the present timeline, we see Delilah having a baby in a mall because you know what? Why not? And then we go back 2 months. We go 2 months back, and we get the pilot where we are introduced to the characters. And I'm already not a fan of Chester basically having a crush on his guidance counselor named Sam. I don't want it. One of the things that I don't really want is a high school kid hooking up with their adult teacher. No, I've had enough of that. So anyway, coming and then in episode number 2, we got to know more about the characters, and basically Nathan is his name is Nathan, right? If it's not, you know what? I apologize. I really don't care, but yeah, Nathan has been hooking up with Jack, who is actually his Nathan's twin sister's boyfriend, which again, Nathan is the bisexual character, so of course he's going to mess around and he's going to be an emotional wreck and all of that stuff. But yeah, I'm going to talk about episode number 3. And in episode number 3, again, as I said, Delilah is having a baby in the mall. So in the present timeline, we see Annie taking this kiddie pool towards the bathroom, and she's stopped by a security guard, and she's like, "I'm just bringing this as a return to Target." And the security guard is like, "But Target is that way, ma'am." And she's like, "Don't mansplain anything to me," and all of that stuff. I'm going to go now. And the dialogue doesn't feel authentic. It feels like as if I'm reading these Tumblr posts and Twitter threads, which I'll be very, very surprised if they are actual teenagers who talk like that. But it is what it is, and it's very weird because this show is created by a queer family. We have 2 husbands, and their young daughter ended up giving them this idea when she was 15, and then they worked on it, and then they have this show. So even though this show has a young creative working on it, again, the dialogues and the narrative arcs feel very weird. They don't feel relatable at all. But maybe there's someone out there who likes this show. I mean, when it comes to the queer representation and the inclusion side of things, it has queer characters, it has a racially diverse main cast, but yeah, the narrative arcs, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if actual teens are going to enjoy this show. And maybe, and I'll be very surprised if actual non-queer teens end up enjoying this show as well, or even if a majority of queer teens end up enjoying this show. But anyway, Ariana is running, and as I said, in the bathroom, Delilah is having a kid, and Delilah had no idea that she was pregnant. She was about to give birth, and she hasn't told her parents yet, and all of that stuff. And yeah, these 3 young teen girls are trying to figure out what to do. And then we go back 10 weeks earlier, and we see Nathan looking at his phone, and he basically has Chester's face. I guess it's Chester's. Yeah, I guess he's looking at Chester's Instagram post, and as I said, he has a crush on Chester. He wants to get to know more. He wants to get to know him better and all of that stuff. And because in the previous episode, Naomi found out that. Her twin brother was hooking up with her boyfriend. They haven't been talking to each other for 2 weeks now, and that's something that their mother has picked up on, and she's like, it's your sister's wedding day, we have to go to what was it, the wedding rehearsal, so I need you both to figure out to mend your relationship and talk about what you have to talk about. And yeah, Naomi is understandably distancing herself away from Nathan, which I understand, but yeah, these two have to talk. So we cut to Nathan having a conversation with Riley, and again Nathan is trying to get closer to Chester, and he's like, you know what? In the previous episode, I think that Chester is kind of angry at me because of the little fight that we had. It was a little argument because because there was apparently this suspicious person in school, and everyone had to go in lockdown, so they were all they were all staying in the room, and Chester and Nathan had this little spat about dying and what's the meaning of being alive and all of that stuff. And I'm like, does every teenager only think about dying? Like, what's happening here? But yeah, he still wants to talk to Chester, and Riley is like, don't worry about it. He's cool. He probably doesn't even remember that he had an argument with you. And there's this little scene where this guy is looking at Riley, and Nathan is like, yo, Riley, this guy is looking at you. And Riley is like, don't worry about it. I went out with him, but he ended up being a jerk, so I ended up signing him for the Scientology mail list. So Chester comes out, and Riley and Nathan end up walk towards him to talk to him, and Riley has been capturing pictures of him because she's a photographer. And yeah, again, Chester, even though Nathan is right in front of him, Chester is like, was Sam here earlier? Sam being his guidance counselor? And I'm like, Chester, no, stay away from your adult guidance counselor. So yeah, you can see that Chester is in the locker room, and he's looking at Sam's Instagram, and he ended up sending a request because Sam's Instagram is private. And again, no. So he ends up messaging Riley, and he's like, Riley, do you want to do something? And Riley is like, yep, I have an idea. She then ends up messaging Greta. So Riley, Chester, and Greta are going to go out together. Then we cut to Greta, and she she has a little brother, and their aunt is looking after them, especially because Greta's own mother was deported, and they are talking over Skype or some other similar, I guess it's to Zoom, who knows. But yeah, she gets Riley's message, and Riley is like, get ready, Greta, I'm going to come pick you up. And Greta's like, Mom, I have to go. And Greta's aunt is very excited about Greta going out on a date, and Riley is like, my aunt, it's not a date. And her aunt is like, you know what, I need you to dress up, and I need you to act like, and I need you to put in more effort, and if you expect something in life, then that's how you're going to get it. So I want you to expect that you'll end up hooking up with Riley, and maybe that will happen. So Riley and Chester come pick Greta up, and while that's happening, okay, the light is bothering me as well. So I'm going to move the camera over here a bit. Oh, come on, light. You know what? I'm going to move the laptop. Let's see. Come on. Okay, this is better. So we cut to Naomi and Nathan, and they're at the rehearsal dinner, and in the back you can see the picture of their older sister who's getting married to this guy, Jordan. And yeah, they're greeting guests, and even here, Naomi doesn't want to talk to Nathan, even though Nathan is like, Naomi, you have to give me a chance to explain. And you know what? Again, understandable. Yeah, I have no idea why the writers even made Nathan hook up with Naomi's boyfriend. It made no sense because Naomi is his sister. It's your like. But anyway, We cut to Annie coming with her parents, and let me show you her parents. She has gay dads, and even though Annie has gay dads and she's queer herself, she is kind of a big. I think she's queer. I'm not really sure because there is a scene where she hooked up with Delilah once during summer camp, or sleepover. But anyway, she has two gay dads, and even though she has two two queer dads, she is kind of a bigot. She doesn't like queer men who are feminine presenting, especially like Chester and all of that stuff. So yeah, I kind of like how all the parents of these kids kind of know each other. So moving on, we cut to Riley, and it turns out that Riley took Greta and Chester to this aquarium because she knows the guy there. His name is Pablo, and there's this and after they end up getting high, there's this scene where Greta is kind of trying to flirt with Riley, but Pablo comes in, and Riley decides to go with Pablo to hook up, and that, of course, understandably makes Greta sad. She's upset, and I like the actress who's playing Greta. So Chester notices Greta being sad and he sits with her, and here's where these two talk about how both of them feel like they are that people don't get them, and Greta is someone who feels that she's invisible and then people see right through her and all of that stuff. And Chester also tells a story about how he was stung by a jellyfish once, and then there was this man who ended up having to urinate on him, and because he took out his to urinate, that's where Chester realized that even though he's not into yellow showers, he still likes big. Like it was weird. Like, this show is just weird. So while that's happening, we cut to the wedding rehearsal, and this is where Nathan's dad comes in, and he's like, he's very happy that his older daughter is getting married, and he tells Nathan about how boys in their family wait until their wedding night to hook up with another woman, and until that time comes, they can self pleasure themselves and all of that stuff. And again, I'm kind of okay when it comes to, because I don't think media shows boys saving themselves until their wedding night. So I hope, like, I would like more stories about that because they want that moment to feel more special and they want that connection with someone. But I don't think that Generation is going to be such a show. I wouldn't be surprised if Nathan ends up hooking up with someone and losing his virginity and all of that stuff. Then we have the scene between Annie's dads, and they're talking about how Megan is a best friend to the dad in the white shirt, and apparently the dad in the white shirt acted straight, and he was even married, and then he came out and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of layers in their relationship that I guess will be explored further. While the two dads are dancing and talking, Ariana ends up stealing their vape, and she goes down deck, and that's where she meets Delilah, and Delilah is crying and she's hungry and she's having these cravings, and again we know it's because in the present timeline Delilah is pregnant and she's about to give birth. And this is the scene that I was talking about, where Delilah is like, Ariana, are you like distancing yourself from me because one night we were experimenting with scissoring and I had poison ivy and it gave it to you? And Ariana is like, yeah, kind of. And also, you were into writing Hunger Games fanfic, so that's why we don't necessarily gel well, and all of that stuff. So maybe Ariana is, again, I'm not really sure, because Ariana is a very weird character. Even if she is a queer character, she is kind of a bigot, and it's weird. It's very, very weird. So she's texting Nathan, and Nathan comes down because Ariana has weed, and they both want to smoke. And this is where they both sit down, and it's time for them to smoke, and the vape doesn't work. So she's like, I have blunt, so we can take that. And Nathan is like, I don't want to smell like pot, and she's like, you won't if we shotgun. So she ends up putting smoke into Nathan's mouth, and this is where these two kiss, and she's like, I always thought that you had blowjob lips, and Nathan's like, excuse me? And she's like, and they end up kissing, and again I'm like, Nathan, why are you kissing your sister's best friend? It feels weird. And then what was it? Yeah, and as these two kiss, Naomi's like, "Yeah, see, you don't give me gay vibes." And this is where Nathan realizes that Annie ended up telling Aria, not Annie, Naomi. Naomi ended up telling Ariana about him hooking up with Jack, and these two talk because he's like, "Why would you tell Ariana about me being bisexual and all of that stuff?" And Ariana and Naomi is like, "Why wouldn't I tell Naomi? She's one of my best friends." And these two are talking, and again, Nathan wants to apologize to Ariana, and Ariana isn't having any of it. And it's time for the toast, so these two stop their conversation. Then we cut to Greta and Riley in the bathroom, and they're cleaning up because Riley was hooking up with Pablo and all of that stuff. So this is where these two talk, and we get to know that Riley ended up taking pictures of boys when they were climaxing, and it was basically a project through which she wanted to show that sex is more about dopamine and feeling powerful instead of finding a connection with the other person and all of that stuff. I didn't necessarily understand it. And then these two flirt, and then they end up going to find Chester, and Riley is like, you know what, Chester, I want to eat fish, and I want to eat sushi, and do you know where we can get a lot of sushi? Of course, at the wedding rehearsal. So of course these three kids go there. And then we cut to Naomi and Nathan giving their toast, and Naomi is basically in her toast, even though she is complimenting her older sister, she's also taking jabs at Nathan for being a very bad brother, and all of her jabs are hurting Nathan. And it's time for Nathan to give his toast, and Nathan's like, older sister, even though you and I weren't close because you were a lot older than me, I am close to Naomi, and I feel this connection to Naomi. And I don't like Naomi when she's not talking to me, and I really want to mend our relationship, and I'm sorry that I ended up hooking up with her boyfriend. And yeah, because Nathan is high, he ends up outing himself in front of his family and friends, and everyone is in shock, and he basically outs himself as a bisexual. And Chester's the only one who claps, which, you know what, Chester would do that. And yeah, Nathan wants to jump off the boat, and Jordan and his father stop him, and they're like, stop it. And then the mother of the family comes in, and she's like, you know what, I can handle this situation. I'll tell everyone that it was a small situation that got out of control. It's nothing to worry about. And yeah, Naomi is like, Nathan, even though you ended up ruining our sister's wedding, I accept your apology, which, you know what, okay. And before the mother walks off, Nathan is like, Mom, but no, the mom cuts him right off, and she's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. So you can tell that the mother isn't happy about Nathan being a queer kid. She doesn't want any of that, because I guess it goes against her vision of having a perfect family. And of course, Nathan feels devastated that his mother is cutting him out, and he ends up jumping from the boat. And yeah, he ends up submerging himself because he wants to my bad, he wants to get away from everyone. And then we hear a splash, and Chester comes in, and yeah, Chester basically saves Nathan during such an emotional situation. And I guess these two are going to continue connecting. However, in my opinion, even though Nathan is going to start falling for Chester is going to start falling for Sam, and then they're going to get messy, because Nathan will love Chester, but Chester will love Sam. But because Sam is his adult guidance counselor, it just couldn't work. But yeah, that was episode number 3 and a bit of episode number 1 and 2. And I'm not really sure if I'll continue with these recaps and review. Maybe I'll do a written review of this for the Geek Theory. Who knows? But did you watch Generations episode number 1, 2, and 3? Again, as I said, you can stream all 3 episodes on HBO Max right now. And I think every week they're going to release 3 episodes, and this is probably going to be a 10 or 12 episode season. You know what? I won't be surprised if this show doesn't get renewed for a second season because it's a mess. I appreciate what the showrunners are trying to do, giving us a sexually diverse roster of characters and a racially diverse cast, but this ain't it. This ain't it. At least in my opinion. But yeah, let me know. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed, and see you guys later.